Okay, box office top 10 this week. At number 10, number 9 in America is Warfare.
Well, I really liked it and you really liked it, but we both said at the time it's going to be a tough watch. And I was speaking to somebody who runs an independent cinema in London. I said, how's it going down? They said, well, everyone who sees it thinks it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But two things. Firstly, the sun is out. And also, the thing that everyone has been told is it's a tough watch.
Yeah, okay. I think it's one of the most extraordinary depictions of warfare. I mean, and 90 minutes that feel like 2.5 hours, but for the best possible reason, which is you cannot, you need this battle to finish and be over. Number 9 is Thadarum. Is that how we're saying it?
Well, I think so. So I haven't seen this, and I don't think it was press screened. This is among the highest grossing Indian Malayan films. If anyone's seen it, as you know, we've been away for the last 2 weeks. I don't think it was press screened last week. So if you've seen it, let us know.
The Amateur is at number 8.
Which is kind of fine. I mean, very nuts and bolts, but passably entertaining while it's there.
Yes, a period drama from the period of time when the CIA were the good guys, if indeed that was ever the case.
When was that, Simon?
Yes, I can't think. Maybe that's not a rabbit hole to go down. Penguin Lessons is at number 7,
which I think is much more charming than you would expect it to be. I mean, as I said in my review, Steve Coogan said when he first was told about it, he thought it was almost too cutesy for him. But then he was told, no, look, there's something else in there. And actually, the fact that he's got such a kind of an abrasive personality on screen, the version of the character that he plays is kind of, when we first meet him, is quite an obnoxious person. That actually is just a little bit of astringence that you need. And I've actually seen it twice now, the second time round with somebody from Argentina. And I am rather charmed by it.
Until Dawn is at number 6, number 5 in the States.
So again, this came out during the period that we were away, so I haven't seen this. This is a survival horror film from David F. Sandberg, who did, Annabelle Creation and then 2 of the Shazam movies. Apparently derived from a PlayStation game. Again, haven't seen it. I will catch up with this hopefully next week, but if you've seen it, let us know.
Number 5 here, number 6 in America, Pink Floyd at Pompeii, MCM LXX11.
Well, Child One went to IMAX to see this because we talked about this in last week's show about how this was basically the sort of the revivified version of Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii. Anyway, she went to see it at IMAX Sunday morning, packed screening, full of Pink Floyd heads, all of whom absolutely loved it, and she was moved to tears by it. So if you're everyone who's a Pink Floyd fan will have seen Live at Pompeii and will know everything about it. But the fact that it's been remastered, it's got this particularly the remix soundtrack. Yes, it is that film in the most spanking version you could see.
We do have correspondence on that. I think it's going to have to go into take 2.
Okay.
Because we're very busy here. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, is at number 3.
We've had so much stuff on the YouTube channel under the review of Revenge of the Sith. I said that, I had gone back and talked to Child 2 about it to say, look, from your generation's point of view, what's the story with Revenge of the Sith? It is really, really interesting how many people have said, yeah, that's the whole point. It's a generational thing. Your generation, meaning my generation, told us that we weren't allowed to like these films. But they are for us the films that the Star Wars films were for you. And I think once again, I don't think I'm ever going to be a fan of Revenge of the Sith. I don't think that the problems with it, which incidentally everyone's very aware of, particularly the central performance, are ever going to go away. But clearly there is a generational thing here, which means that in a way it depends how and when you first saw it will affect it.
Rob O'Connor says, Simon and Mark, I was as amused as I was disheartened by Mark's change of heart concerning Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I know the value of nostalgia just as much as anyone. I've defended some pretty ropey James Bond and Batman films in my time because of how much a special place they occupy in my heart. However, I think there has been a sort of mass delusion regarding the Star Wars prequels amongst my generation, and it's led to this strange re-evaluation for highly commercial, cynically made films that are at best a celebration of George Lucas's hubris, as he spent 3 boring films forgetting the breezy matinee serial camp that made Star Wars so accessible and fun in the first place. I was 9 when Phantom Menace came out and almost 15 when Revenge of the Sith came out. So I am this magical target audience that grew up with the films. Truth be told, I loved Phantom Menace when it first came out, and I was equally fond of the other two. I think they've aged like a Wexford strawberry, however, and while they may be packed with interesting ideas, they contain some of the absolute worst execution in blockbuster history, which simply isn't true of the original trilogy. Another common defense is Lucas's insisting that his films are aimed at a younger audience. Films aimed at a young audience can be wonderful, though. Look at Disney's Renaissance, early Pixar, the Lego Movie, Into the Spider-Verse, and then look at Jar Jar Binks stepping in poo. I'm all for nostalgic reevaluation, but I think in this case, we've all got a bit carried away. When your generation insisted to mine that The Empire Strikes Back was a masterpiece and the prequels were terrible, I think they may have been onto something. So there you go. So
well, look,
thank you,
as
Rob.
I said, there is not a right or wrong answer to this. I mean, as I said, I don't think I'm ever going to be a fan of those films because I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get over the problems that you just stated. I think they're badly written and badly executed. And as I said, the one concession I would give to Lucas when I said he can't write, he can plot, but he's not very good at dialogue. But I am also aware, and believe me, this is an aging thing. The older you get, the more you look at the way in which people respond to cinema, the more you become profoundly aware of the fact not only is everything to do with individual responses, but there is a generational thing happening there. And obviously, in your case, you're cutting against the grain because you were those ages, and that's fine. I mean, I felt like that about most of the things I thought when I was a teenager. It's not that a generational shift means every single person in that generation thinks this. But it is also of the prequels. I think it has been clear that the people who embrace the prequels, for whatever reason, this is the top of the tree as opposed to the bottom of the pile.
Before we get to Sinners, I forgot I skipped over because I can't read The Accountant 2, which is at number 4.
Yes, as did I because I've been away.
Okay, so Accountant 2 at 4, Star Wars at 3, and Sinners is the American number 1, and it's number 2 here.
So as I said, we didn't review it at the time because we've been off for 2 weeks and it hadn't been screened before we left. So, hybrid period drama horror thriller with a strong musical element, written and directed by Ryan Coogler, who made Fruitvale Station and the Black Panther films. I think is the thing that's probably best known for. So early 30s Mississippi Delta, identical twins, Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan. Return to Clarksdale, which, as you and I have talked about before, I've spent quite a lot of time in Clarksdale, home of the blues, home of the Riverside Motel, the place where Ike Turner was knocking together Rocket 88. Anyway, so they buy an old sawmill, which they turn into a blues-filled juke joint, and then their paths cross. This is all against the kind of the backdrop of old school Jim Crow racism. With Irish Nocturne Remick, played by Jack O'Connell, who arrives at the juke joint with 2 compatriots and asks to be invited in. Now, when people arrive asking to be invited in, that means one thing in particular. The film was tailor-made. I mean, because it's been out for a couple of weeks, I imagine that everybody pretty much knows everything about it, but I'm trying not to spoil anything.
Okay.
So, look, tailor-made for me in terms of its thing, 30s Delta blues, Clarksdale, element of supernatural horror, resonating guitars everywhere, mouth organs, story told through dueling musical styles, and, of course, this element of supernatural horror. Tell me what the listener emails have said, and then I'll tell you how I responded.
Let me summarize because they're quite lengthy. So
okay,
Jasmine says went to see it at local Cineworld here in Edinburgh. It's a film we've both been looking forward to. She's gone with her boyfriend Matt. As fans of Ryan Coogler, though to my great shame I've yet to watch Creed, I walked out of the cinema completely awestruck and said to my boyfriend, "Can we watch it again right now?" On surface level, Sinners is a story about twin brothers who return home after several years away from their hometown on a Mississippi Delta. But Sinners is so much more, and Ryan Coogler does a phenomenal job in blending genre and using music as the main storytelling tool.
Yes.
For context, as a woman of color of West African descent, albeit also part Swedish, whose ancestors were brought to the southern US as enslaved people, this film struck a chord in me because it speaks of the Black experience in a way that is relatable even in 2025. However, the beauty of Sinners isn't just in the music, but the themes it covers, which are so relatable. It talks about the false idea of freedom and the, in quotes, the American dream, with the smoke and stack making a deal with the devil to buy the sawmill. It's also a love story with a bittersweet ending and teaches you the dangers of not being true to yourself. And Matt, again, a long email from Matt, but essentially he says he went to see it at the BFI IMAX. He says, hands down, the most incredible experience I've ever witnessed at a cinema.
Wow.
The direction, acting, costume, music, themes, camera work, intensity, and mood of the whole film was nigh on perfect. This is exactly what cinema needs. That's an edited version of what Matt says.
Honestly, the film would have had to get a lot of things wrong to have lost my support, because just from the beginning, I was in there. But the fact, for me, the thing that worked for me, and different things will work for different people and different audience experience, but for me, the thing that worked for it was, this is a story told through its music. And that it's so well done that the songs are telling you the story.
And it would be number one if it weren't for the Minecraft movie, which is very number one, as we said.
But, and I don't know what else there is to say about the Minecraft movie, apart from, it is what it is.